Friends, a very, very warm welcome to yet another exciting episode of Beyond Success Unleash the New You, where we are currently exploring how spirituality meets everyday life. Today's conversation is actually to touch upon something which we all are chasing, and to be honest, struggling happiness. We often say, I'll be happy when things go right, I accomplish this, or I get this. But what if we are approaching happiness completely the wrong way? I remember an old quotation. It says, happiness doesn't depend on what we have, but actually on how we think. With us today is Dr. Shwetank Agrawal from the Brahma Kumaris Raleigh Center, who will help us understand how to remain happy not because of circumstances, but despite them. Welcome, Brother Shwetank. So wonderful to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother Ajay. A pleasure to be here.
Pleasure is entirely ours. So, the topic is extremely, extremely close to my personal heart, and I'm sure to so many listeners and viewers, which is there. Let's jumpstart the conversation and asking you a very point blank question. Are you really happy?
Well, yes, reasonably, yes. Way happier than I was 25 years back. Before I
Mhm.
came to know about the Brahma Kumaris, before I stumbled upon the Brahma Kumaris. Over these 25 years, in this journey of self realization, self empowerment, and understanding my responsibility in this grand scheme of things that are happening around me,
Right.
I have experienced more happiness,
Mhm.
and now I am in a deeper state of happiness, for sure.
So I took away a few things which you said right now. Once you said that you are way, way much happier than what you were 25 years. So in these 25 years of spiritual awakening has made you realize a lot of things and which has kind of moved you forward. So that's a very positive thing that we are better off what we were yesterday. And that's
Mhm.
incremental, exponential progress which is there. Second
Yeah,
thing which caught my attention where you said that you're reasonably happy. Any specific reason for saying that, using the phrase reasonably happy?
because I know that I can be happier. I know that the sky is the limit. Many times we don't know what we don't know.
Hmm.
So I remember many years back when, just like everyone, I was also searching for the holy grail of happiness, searching
Right.
for something elusive, and then started following the Brahma Kumaris way of
Hmm.
life, the practice, and I progressively became happier every day. But every day would feel as if, oh, I've achieved happiness. But as I kept on working on myself, I started feeling happier. So, 25 years later, today, I feel very happy, but I'm sure there are deeper levels of happiness that are waiting for me to experience as well.
Yeah. Amen to that for sure. So let's see if you could help us get some handle around what exactly is this holy grail of happiness. What is true happiness?
Yeah, see, I too was feeling that I have to achieve something. I was also very goal directed kind of person, a type
Hmm.
A
Hmm.
personality, I guess, because of my
Right.
upbringing. I have to achieve this, I have to get good grades, I have to get into a good field of medicine, post graduation, come to US, and all these goals and ambitions that we have. And so, there is this feeling inherently for all of us that when we reach there, when we achieve that, when we have gathered so much, when we have become something, then
Hmm.
we'll be happy. But I realize that it can't be anything further away from the truth. You see, the happiness really for me was when I realized that it is that deep sense of inner contentment and feeling of inner fulfillment that I
Mm-hmm.
have done something that is bigger than myself, not necessarily gauged from the world around us, but from our own inner compass, if you will. When you're seeing yourself through the lens of God, through the eyes of God, that when you have transformed yourself reasonably, you see, when there is a lot of inner work that needs to be done. I didn't realize that earlier. We live our lives almost in a zombie like state. We think that we're doing a great job, interacting with people and so on and so forth. But the Brahma Kumaris teachings have helped me understand that a lot of inner work is needed on how I'm interacting with people, the energy that I'm putting into each interaction, each
Right.
communication. And as we start working on these tiny, tiny aspects, then there is this feeling of inner contentment, fulfillment. And that's what I found was bringing me happiness. So, in other words, it wasn't the pursuit of happiness that
Mm-hmm.
was bringing me happiness, but rather as I was doing the right things for myself and for people around me, the immediate circle of influence, but also for the larger good of mankind, that I found that happiness comes as a byproduct. Now I realized that the more I run after happiness, the less I will be happy. And that was happening for me. And the less I run after happiness, rather focus on doing the right thing, being the right person, then happiness almost automatically starts to flow into my life.
So let's probe this point a little further. So when you say when you are chasing happiness, it'll further elude you. Why does
Yeah,
that happen?
yeah, it's like kicking the can further down the road.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. See, in a way, think of it that when you say I'm not happy, you know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or when you say rather that I'm looking for happiness, that means you're not happy. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and that lack of happiness only attracts more lack of happiness. I'm realizing that because somewhere there is this desperation in the soul that I want this, I want that.
Right.
Maybe not expensive watches and cars and big title, but maybe I need people to recognize me. Maybe I need people to appreciate me. Maybe I need people to give me some sort of accolades. That would give me that happiness, but that makes happiness more elusive. It pushes happiness away. The more desperate we become, the further happiness goes away from us. So rather than that, actually, the Brahma Kumaris teachings tell us that as a soul, and we have talked about this in our previous episode, that
Right.
we are souls. You see, we are not the physical body, but we are more than this physical body, the name, the religion, the nationality, and
Right.
whatever other identities we have acquired over time. And deep inside, the essence of our being is that we are souls, we are spirits, the life energies that are animating these bodies. But as a soul, each one of us is inherently happy. That's our true nature. That's who we really are. So, what are we running after? It is just the realization of who we are. It allows us to experience the happiness that we need.
So I've also heard somewhere is a kind of a quotation where it says, "Pleasure is momentarily, and happiness is actually a state of being."
Yeah.
Uh, would you agree with that statement, or care to elaborate further on it?
Yeah, that's so true. You see, nowadays in positive psychology, they talk about trait happiness and state happiness.
Right.
So, yeah, so what does state happiness mean? It means that there could be situations that come up for many people. many different situations could give them happiness. Everybody has a different way of looking at life. For some people, a big lottery ticket, winning that could give them happiness. For some, cars. For some, friends and relatives, or whatever else it would be. So you see, so that would be called as state happiness, that when
Right.
a situation like that happens, then we are happy. When that situation is taken away from us, then happiness goes away. But trait happiness is another term that is used. That trait
Hmm.
is when you realize that happiness is really your trait, your nature, and so
Right.
you're happy no matter what, even if situations are not in your favor, but still you feel happy. And so you see this word pleasure and pain. You see, pleasure and pain go together. So
Hmm.
pleasure is very physical. It's when, let's say, I have eaten a nice meal, I've tasted a nice dish, I
Right.
have gone somewhere. Again, that state happiness is pleasure. But trait happiness is the real happiness. So
Gotcha.
running after pleasure is only going to give us pain, really. And if we are working on how we can get to that trait happiness, then happiness becomes our way of life, then we will be happy all the time.
Nice. So, building onto the same concept which you said, trait, nature of soul, or soul's original nature is happiness, which is there. I'm sure the listeners are going to find that very, very liberating. But they'll also feel that it's pretty challenging for them to live and practice in daily life. How do we really reconnect to this original state of happiness of our soul on amidst our hectic daily schedules, which is there?
Yeah, well, despite the busyness of our lives, we still are doing things that are needed. So it all depends on how we prioritize our time. But
Right.
if we can somehow take out time, which is for our own sake, actually,
Hmm. Hmm.
that we spend time in trying to reflect on what truly gives us happiness.
Hmm.
See, each one has to go through that exercise. I went through it too, and I
Right.
still work on that every day. And to see what really happiness means to them, what really brings happiness to them, then as we sit with ourselves, we realize that truly all that we were running after was just pleasures, very superficial, fleeting,
Hmm.
experiences that we were running after. So rather than that, to find happiness within. So instead of make this journey outwards, you know, going inwards to search for happiness in the solitude of the self, going back to that essence of our existence, of our being. And so every day I sit with myself. We wake up early in the morning to meditate, and time is something that one needs to learn how to create for themselves. And we will always be pulled into a million directions, but we have to see what is important for us. Then automatically the answers come. There is no magic bullet that I can really share with everyone. Each one has to figure it out for himself or herself.
Right, right. It's pretty interesting. I'll take a little tangent onto this, on the point which you just mentioned about saying that you have to look inwards. I was actually having discussion with one of my schoolmates, and
Hmm.
when he was in actually grade 11th and 12th, he took a conscious call of going across and doing social work. And his focus area he picked up was to ensure that he liberates the area where he lives in from any kind of prostitution which is there. So he works in the Uttar Pradesh, in Banaras area. He runs an NGO called Gudiya. He's been recognized on global platforms. I was having a similar chat with him, and I asked him a simple question. And I asked him saying that at the age of 11, and like when you're doing grade 11 and 12th, how did you get that conviction that this is what you want to go after? And
Yeah.
he made a couple of statements which were very, very resonating. It kind of resonated what you said. He said, Buddha never went to Harvard.
Hmm.
So, from his perspective, he said that all we had to do was what Buddha did, look inwards. And he said, I
Hmm.
sat with my own self, had dialogues, and I could figure that out what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I had the
Exactly.
conviction, despite all the peer pressure, family pressure, everything, I went ahead and accomplished what I wanted to do in this line. So when you're saying this, you sit with your own self, look and identify what true happiness is for you. You will be
Hmm.
able to find the answer, and then you prioritize your time, do a good kind of time management. If this is on a high priority for you to find happiness, then you will figure out ways and means to make that happen, the time
Exactly.
allocation.
Exactly. And it's not just one time sitting with ourselves, sort of, it is not one time reflection, but
Right.
it has to be done on a daily basis because
On
yeah, it has to be an ongoing process because one day, let's say you have the realization to do something different, to do something bigger, you know, to be able to hear that inner calling. But
right.
then one needs to keep listening to that voice. We have
Right.
to keep it awake. We have to keep checking that we are really following that compass or not, or are we digressing away from the path. It's a daily process, actually.
Got you. So we talked about sitting with ourselves, spending time, not a one-time exercise, but keep on an ongoing basis and do the course correction as required. Once you've identified, you obviously need to prioritize and put time allocation for it to really go
Mm,
after it and make things happen. Let's look on the other side. Uh, what are the common leakage points for our happiness?
yeah. Yeah, there are numerous. One is to not understanding what happiness is,
Mhm,
as
mhm.
simple as that, and continuing to run after all of those things. You see, the more we run after things that are not really relevant, the less energy we will be left with to
Mhm.
pursue what really
Exactly.
matters. So eventually you find yourself spiraling down as
Right.
you have no energy left to do what really matters for the soul. And you see, so one thing, like you were sharing about your friend, then
Mhm.
when we do something bigger than ourselves, when we go beyond our limited capacities and our limited desires, then we are able to actually serve others. You see, to bring happiness in other people's lives, to bring that spark of joy in other people. You see, that then brings happiness back to us. You see, the more we look out for the world around us, the ripple effect happens. You see, in the law of karma, if you give good, you get good.
Right.
And but the caveat is that you don't do good for the good, but you just keep doing good. Yeah, and so then good comes back to you, and that sense of satisfaction that you were able to help someone who was struggling, you were able to guide that person, you were able to hold that person's hand while they were suffering, give them some solace. And
Right. Right. Right.
and again, I am always reminded of what Mother Teresa would say,
Mhm.
that you don't have to do big things in life. You can just do small things with big love. So, I have been experimenting with this word love for quite a while, and how
Mhm.
I can give love, but not just give love like love, 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 but actually becoming an embodiment of love. That something I have learned through my association with Brahma Kumaris for the past so many years. That inherently we are love, not just we have love, but we are love. That is our true nature. Just like happiness, we are happiness. We are not just happy, we are happiness. It's happiness embodied in all of us, you see, and we have to just manifest all of these things in our lives. So the more I am an embodiment of love, the more I serve others from that space, automatically happiness becomes a natural byproduct
Hmm.
of that act or that life in itself.
Gotcha. So you touched upon a few points over here in terms of the leakage points. Um, Let me take it to another level over here, and that reminds me of a saying which says, "Anger is a punishment we give ourselves for someone else's mistakes."
Yeah, yeah.
So, are there areas like this where we are unnecessarily draining away our own happiness by doing things which we're not supposed to be doing? Any light you like to share on that as well?
Sure, yeah, yeah. The Brahma Kumaris talks about the five vices, if you will,
Right,
The yeah, so all of that stems from our misalignment with our true identity.
right,
The less we are stabilized in the understanding that we are souls, the more we see ourselves as these physical forms with all the acquired identities, then we automatically create sort of states of anger and resentment and hurt feelings, and
right,
then also the greed comes, attachment comes. So all of these things then become the leakage points, you see, then our happiness goes down the drain very quickly. So if I'm angry, then of course I can't be happy at the same time. Yeah, people may think that yes, by showing anger, we were able to manipulate the situation in our favor, and that gives them that satisfaction. But deep inside, we all know that doesn't really give us any happiness. It actually drains our energy completely, and
right.
that's why most of mankind right now is in a very miserable state. So was I many years back. So
Hmm.
yeah, so and then to sit with ourselves and see, why am I being angry? What are the deep seated sanskaras, if you will? This is a word that we learn in the Brahma Kumaris teachings, and
Right.
the habits, the tendencies which make us not be happy. Why we slip down this path of anger. Somewhere there are hidden desires, expectations, and so this was a big thing for me, and to be able to let go. You see, let go of the attachment
Hmm. Hmm.
to not, you see, attachment also is a big word, and attachment and detachment, and sometimes people feel that, is it even possible to be detached from everything? And I realize it's not about leaving your family members and leaving your uh, possessions that you're so fond of, but actually it is simply the detachment from the outcome.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, letting go of our attachment to the outcome of things. So I might hope that this relationship would turn into this, or if I'm doing this, this should come back to me. So this desire for the outcome is a big reason why there is this lack of fulfillment, lack of satisfaction, and therefore lack of happiness. So the more I was able to let go of the
Hmm.
outcome, the more sense of happiness I started experiencing. Also, what happens is, you see, one is this outcome, that is the future or present, but also the past. That's a big leakage point as well. We many times think about the past over and over again. We really live the past. Something may have happened which was not the way we hoped it to be,
Correct.
but we keep living that over and over again in our minds,
Right.
and that robs us of our happiness. So, yeah, the Brahma Kumaris teachings have taught me to let go of the past, let go of the present, let go of the future. In a way, all ancient texts have also told us that whatever has happened, whatever is happening, and whatever will happen, in the grand scheme of things, is perfect, is awesome. So letting go of this illusion of control, this desire to control things around me, has given me a deep sense of happiness. And that's what I inspire others as well to look at
Right.
life this way.
So this is a very important point which you brought up over here, and maybe I'll peel the layers a little further onto this. Majority times, if you talk to someone, and let's say we talked about being angry or something like that, you ask the question to the person saying, "Why did you get angry?" And they say, "Because that other person did that, hence I got angry." So the whole balance around what is in your control, which you should be controlling, rather trying to control the world around you. When I change, the world changes, or when the world changes, I will change. Would you like to elaborate a little bit further onto this?
I have learned a lot from not just Brahma Kumaris teachings, but really these big philosophers have also said the same thing. If you
Hmm.
look at Stoicism, talk about the dichotomy of control. There are things in our control, and then there are things not in our control. The more
Hmm.
we worry about the things that are not in our control and try to fix them, the less we will have the energy to fix what we really can control. And what is in our control is our response to the situations. If somebody said something, did something, then in a way, everything is coming to us for a reason. And this is something which I realized, that it's not like the universe is punishing me. It's not punitive. I've realized this very deeply in the
Hmm.
recent few years, that it's just coming to teach me something. It's coming to make me stronger, to help me rise to a higher ground. And I'm also reminded of what Rumi said: when I was young, I
Hmm.
was smart, so I wanted to change the world. Now I am older, I am wiser, so I am wanting to change myself. I'm paraphrasing.
Correct,
There
correct,
could
correct.
be a little bit of a difference in the actual words of what he said. But basically, we have to work on ourselves, we have to change ourselves. And when we change ourselves, the world changes around us automatically.
Correct, correct. There's an Hindi saying or Urdu saying which says that सारी उम्र में गलती करता रहा, धूल चेहरे पे थी और मैं आईना साफ करता रहा.
Yeah,
So, so great point. And maybe just a counter thing which some people may like to listen to this because how can we stay stable and radiate positivity, be happy when people around us are negative, reactive, critical, they are not doing the right things? Something again linked to the what you just elaborated earlier, but maybe I thought it'll be easier to understand in a language where people always try to put things across on the ecosystem around them and not look
yeah.
at inward. Any other light you like to throw on this further?
Yeah, yeah. See, what you just mentioned, that people around us sometimes seem to be negative, and this is a common complaint I hear from people, that how can we be happy? How can we be positive when there is so much of sadness and negativity around us? In fact, the more the negativity around us, the more it is important, the more it is necessary for us to be positive.
Positive.
Yeah,
Yep.
it is for multiple reasons. One is your positivity actually will protect you from all the negativity. So the more negative you are in response to the negative world around you, yeah, it's only going to multiply negativity, and you'll find yourself more vulnerable to all that negativity. You'll find yourself more susceptible to going down actually. So in the world where, let's say you think, I care about myself, I don't care about anyone else, then the best way to care about yourself is to be positive. Yeah,
Yep.
it creates a fortress around you actually. It
Correct.
creates a shield and armor for you to protect yourself from everybody else's negativity. So that's one thing. But also it helps in changing the environment around you. You see, even if you protect yourself, let's say you have a very high quality shield or armor,
Right. Hmm.
and somebody keeps hitting you with a spear, or let's say a big sword. Now, repeated blows can eventually weaken that armor, that shield,
Right.
and you will become susceptible to the attacks eventually. So it is in our best interest to be able to disarm the other person. You see, the spear, the the sword. Somehow we need to be able to disarm the other person. So here, maybe nobody will come to us with spears and
Right.
swords or weapons, but whatever negativity that they are bringing, we have to be able to disarm them. No, negativity is not going to be able to disarm their negativity. You
Understood.
see, yeah, negativity breeds more negativity. You see, whatever you give out is what you receive more of. In a way, it multiplies over time.
Mm-hmm.
The ripple effect actually becomes louder, bigger. And so, if you want eventually to be happy, to
Mm-hmm.
to enjoy the positivity of the world, of
Right.
the ecosystem around you, then you
Right.
have to give positivity out. You have to radiate positivity. So again, for your own best interest, for your own sake, and also you see, as you create positivity within yourself, and you see the world around you change, people around you becoming happier, more positive. You see, so when they change, then that too is a very fulfilling experience.
I hear
You
you.
see, when artists, they create new art, even if there's no one to appreciate it, just looking at their art feels good. It's a fulfilling experience.
Right.
So here too, seeing other people change for better, and in a way, we have to understand that we are all part of one big family. Everybody on this planet is my sibling, my brother or sister. So as my brother or sister, their his or her life improves, as they start to see things in a more positive way, they bring positivity and happiness in their lives because of my happiness, then automatically I'll feel contented as well.
No, fantastic. And I could correlate what you just said to your prior statement when you made. So both you and Sister Kanishta, in your uh, in kind of the way you service people, help people, and that itself, when you see that improvements coming in other people's life, that itself is such a self-fulfilling, self-content, the feeling which you're talking about, which again leads to happiness.
Yeah,
So like you earlier said, I'm just rephrasing and trying to present it a different way. Happiness grows when we stop trying to own it.
yeah,
And then if you're having happiness within you, if you keep radiating and make others people happy, start sharing happiness, this entire ecosystem becomes such a ripple effect of happiness all across within you as well as outside you.
yeah. So true, so true. Everybody becomes happy. You see smiling faces. you
Correct.
know you have to understand that if people around you are not happy, is because they don't know how to be happy. So, you know instead of leaving them to their own states, if we take responsibility a little bit to see how we can serve them so that they can find happiness as well, true happiness, you
Correct.
know s- through education, but also through small acts filled with big love.
Right.
If we can create happiness in their lives, then it is going to spill over again back to us.
Right. I'm reminded of a video which I watched, and I think it's an apt moment to share that. It showed a person who's traveling in a local train, and he's standing resting on those metallic rod over there in the center. And a lot of people, the train is jam packed. And then he has his earphones plugged into the phone and on his tablet or phone, I don't remember, but he's watching something.
Hmm.
And he suddenly becomes not aware that so many people around him. And he's so engrossed in watching that he starts laughing.
Hmm.
And he starts laughing uncontrollably
Hmm.
because he's really enjoying what he was seeing, he was feeling very happy. And the people around him, initially, they kind of scoffed at him and they laughed, but they laughed because they were kind of not understanding why is this guy laughing, what he's laughing about, and all. And they were trying to make fun of it. But then he kept continuing laughing, and the entire bogie compartment slowly turned into laughing, and they all joined into that laugh without even knowing why this other
Yeah,
person was initially laughing. So
yeah,
that ripple effect of finding everybody around you happy, I just got reminded of that.
yeah. Because when we are happy, we spread that energy around, and people
Right,
do experience that. And even if they are not sure why the person is happy, it sort of inspires them to also seek that deep sense of happiness. So
got
yeah,
you.
we do a lot of service it this way just by being happy. We don't have to do big things. We don't have to climb big mountains or dive deep into these big oceans, or
Right.
wear, or walk barefoot in the snow. All those things are not needed. Just small acts of kindness and just being happy ourselves can create a big change in the world around us.
Absolutely. So, coming to the last part of the, I'm thoroughly enjoying the conversation which is going on, and I'm sure it'll be extremely helpful for all of us who will be watching this. If you were to put this across in a, I come from the corporate background, so I keep going back to those phrases we used to use, like the to-do list for
Hmm.
being happy, or to not to be doing certain activities. If you would care to kind of summarize that for us, I think that'll be fantastic.
Yeah, so the first thing I would say is that the only way to truly experience happiness is stop pursuing it, whether external, internal, whatever. Just stop running after happiness. Stop seeking happiness. Just do the right thing. Be the right person. Create the right energy within yourself, and let that energy radiate from you, spread from you. As people around you are served, as the world around you changes, you automatically will feel happier, and eventually you will reach the pinnacle of happiness. But also sit with yourself every so often, as much as you can. I inspire you to sit every day, no matter what. Nothing worthwhile has ever been achieved in a mob. Only when you sit in solitude. All great philosophers have sat in solitude. All the ancient mystics, all the yogis. So there's deep learning in solitude. So spend time with yourself. Figure out for yourself what is happiness for you. How do you define? Who cares about anyone else? How would you like to define your happiness? And then do whatever needs to be done to bring happiness in the lives of others more than yourself, and then see how quickly you yourself will be filled with happiness. And then thirdly, the leakages that you had asked about,
Right.
so see how you can free yourself from the attachment to the outcome,
Hmm.
which will also help you free yourself from the anger of not being able to control the outcome.
Right. Right.
Yes, and then more attachment leads to more greed as well. So all of those things which become holes in our vessel of happiness. You see, the on one hand you fill the vessel with happiness, but then these things cause the happiness to leak away. So you know these things, small things, will go a long way in your experiencing happiness. And so we honestly don't need too much of pep talk and TED talks and things like that for happiness. Just the connection with the essence of who we are. We realize that our true state, the true trait, is happiness. That's who we truly are.
Truly, yeah.
And so the more we are connected to ourselves, we automatically experience happiness, and then we automatically radiate happiness around us.
Fantastic. What an awesome conversation. We began with the simple question of saying that, are you happy? And then we said, how to remain happy. And what we discovered that happiness isn't something which we chase, but something to awaken within. And to do that, you have to sit with yourself, prioritize, find the right things to do. And once you're finding happiness within yourself, you radiate that positivity and happiness to others and create a ripple effect which is there. So thank you, Brother Shwetang, for such enriching insights which are there.
And
Really,
I enjoyed this conversation as well, thoroughly, actually. Yes, thank you, Brother Ajay. It
our
was a
pleasure.
pleasure.
And to all our listeners, may you carry today's message in your moments, in your day to day life, that you don't need to wait for a reason to be happy. Make
Mhm.
happiness your reason, make happiness your own state of being. With
Yeah.
that, Om Shanti, and we'll be seeing all of you in our next episode. Until then, take care, be safe, and be happy.
Yes. Om Shanti.